Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about some unconventional uses of guitar pedals. Now, as we all know, different guitar pedals are designed to do different things and serve different purposes. But just because they're designed to do one specific thing doesn't mean that's all they can do. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at some examples of where you can use pedals that are designed for a certain thing, but use them in a way that achieves a different end result. So I've got 4 or 5 different points to share with you depending on how you look at it. But let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into it. Now, the first one is a little bit of a cheat and certainly one that a lot of people will be aware of, but one that certainly does get overlooked by a lot of people at the same time. And that's the fact that just because they're called guitar pedals doesn't mean you have to just use them on guitar. All that a pedal really is, as we've often discussed on this channel, is a circuit that's designed to manipulate a signal. And so, as long as you have the right connection to go into your pedal, you can put whatever signal you like through this. So whether that's a synth, guitars and basses, keys and keyboards, other stringed instruments that have pickups in them, or even things like electroacoustic harps and things like that. You can run all of this stuff through your existing pedals, so you can try that out and find some new and different sounds. Now, I know for a first point that's a little bit of a cop-out, but I just wanted to get that in there because I do feel like it's one that people often miss and more people should try out with other instruments. So now we've got that one out of the way quickly, let's get into talking about more of a specific one. And for the first one I want to talk about, we're going to need one of these. This is an EQ pedal. Now, it doesn't have to be an MXR one, it can be any sort of brand. Something like a Boss GE7 is a very common one, but any sort of multi-band EQ pedal. And really the most important thing for it is having some sort of volume control. And that's because you can use your EQ pedal as an overdrive or as a boost. And really it's as simple as getting your amp setting right, so you're near breakup, and then just giving it an extra push with the volume control on an EQ. And so when you do that, you get something that sounds a bit like this. And if you really want to go after more of an overdrive sound, say you're after a tube screamery sort of sound, what you can do is then further use your EQ on your pedal and give it, say, a bit of a mid-hump like you would get with a tube screamer, and that gives you something that sounds like this. So as you can hear, it makes a pretty good overdrive sound. And I actually like using one of these for this purpose because I feel like it really gives you a lot more of your amp's character and you don't get as much colouring as you do with an overdrive, especially if you're not using the EQ section as much. I should also mention that the reverse of this is also possible. So say you get a nice high gain or dirty sound that you like, but for a section of a song, say you need a clean tone, you can reduce that volume and then clean up that sound, depending on how hard you're already hitting the front end of your amp. When you're doing it that way, it's very much a similar case of rolling down the volume on your guitar. But that's kind of 2 different cool things that you can do with an EQ that aren't just your standard EQing of various frequencies. Now, the next pedal I want to talk about is the whammy. This is a whammy DT, but there are various versions of the whammy, and it is one of the most popular pitch shifting pedals and really the original to do it. I'm sure most of you are going to be familiar with it, so I don't need to tell you too much about it. But what a lot of people don't know is with one of these, you can get quite a nice chorus sound out of them. So they have a detune, deep and shallow setting. And when you go over to these, like I said, it gives you quite a nice chorus. Now, if you're a fan of Dimebag Darrell or Pantera, or you're familiar with the song Floods, then you'll certainly already know this sound. But I thought this was worth a mention because a lot of people know this pedal for the sort of crazy pitch shifting Tom Morello kind of stuff. But not a lot of people know that you can also get this nice chorus effect out of it as well. And that chorus effect sounds like this. Now, my last 2 points kind of go hand in hand and really might be more tailored towards the ambient player or someone that's looking to get sort of more unusual, almost synthy sort of tones out of their gear. So for the first one of these points, you're going to need some sort of fuzz or distortion pedal, whatever you have to your choosing. To demonstrate this, I'm using my Russian Big Muffy reissue because this is just one of my favourites. And you're also going to need something like an ABY that lets you split your signal. And so how you're going to set this up is that you are going to run the output of the fuzz or distortion into the input on the ABY. You're then going to run one of your outputs from the ABY back into the input of the fuzz pedal, and then the other one is going to go out to your amp. So like I said, the ABY is just splitting your signal. Really, it's the distortion or fuzz pedal that's doing the interesting thing. What you're basically doing is creating a feedback loop, which then, with the various controls on your pedal, you can manipulate. And you can change the pitch and various other things with the tone, sustain, volume, or whatever controls your fuzz has. Obviously, changing up the pedal is going to yield different results, so it's certainly one to experiment with. But say you're doing some recording and you need an ambient section for a part of a song, say, and you want a nice drone or something like that, this can be a really good way of just generating some basic tones which you can then manipulate further down the line, whether that's in your DAW or running it through other pedals before you get to your amp. It gives you lots of possibilities, and yeah, it works basically like a tone generator would in a synthesizer. So to give you some idea of what that sounds like, I'll have a bit of a play around and you can hear it now. And my final little trick for this video is another one that's sort of a tone generation style thing, and one that I personally associate quite heavily with David Gilmour. And for this one, what you're going to need is a wah. What you're going to do is set up completely normally like you would with a wah. The only difference is that you're going to plug your guitar into the output and the input go out to your amp. And similarly to the fuzz pedal, distortion pedal one that I've just previously talked about, you can again manipulate and change that tone. But this time you're going to be using the controls on your guitar, mainly the tone knob. And once again, you can obviously use other pedals in conjunction with this and do all sorts of weird and cool stuff. And again, if you need a sort of an ambient pad or sort of drone or something like that, this can be a really cool way of achieving that. So once again, I'm going to have a play around with a few extra effects and a few things just to give you some idea of what's achievable. So check this out. And so there we have it. There's a few different and cool ways you can use pedals in ways that they weren't initially intended when they were designed. Now, of course, this is just a selection, and I would be really interested to go on and do some more videos like this, maybe with some of your ideas. So make sure you drop a comment down below and tell me what your favourite way of using a pedal in an unconventional way is. But I think that's just about going to do us for today. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Drop your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.